It's interesting. We're not having the normal media days surrounding the Super Bowl. So a lot of times on this Tuesday edition of the program during Super Bowl week, we would be sitting here playing some of the audio that someone might have said, either a member of the Bucs or the Chiefs. We'd be in Tampa. We'd have a big, huge Radio Row setup. That's the ordinary week like now. So in the show's history, we have been, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but in Minneapolis, we've been in Houston, we've been in Miami, we have been in Atlanta. I think that's the 4 places we've been. Dub, look up where the last several Super Bowls have been. But in the years that we've been doing this show, I think we've been on the road 4 times so far. This would be the 5th different Super Bowl that we've done hanging out in the morning with you guys on this show. Now, I've been to Indianapolis. I've been to Arizona. I've been to San Francisco. I'm fortunate, New York. I've been a lot of different cities where the Super Bowl has gone on and gotten to go experience what Radio Row is like in those environments. This year's different. I've been to the Tampa Stadium, the big pirate ship there. I would love to be there this year, but it's such an abnormal Super Bowl that I've decided it makes more sense to be here. A guy talking about how abnormal this Super Bowl experience was Tom Brady. And he said, hey, I've been out here to the last several, going way back in history. And I'm looking, by the way, at the list of Super Bowls, and I have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had been to 9 straight Super Bowls. Not to the game itself, because a lot of times I leave beforehand. But the first ever Super Bowl that I went and did Radio Row was Indianapolis. The next year we were in New Orleans. Then we were in New York City. The game was actually in New Jersey, but they set it up in Manhattan for the Radio Row. Then we were in Arizona. Then we were in San Francisco, even though the game is in Santa Clara. Then Houston, then Minneapolis, then Atlanta, then last year in Miami. All of those years, I have been able to be present for the Super Bowl. So going all the way back to 2012, this is the first one that I'm going to miss. And I've been on Radio Row. I've kind of experienced that craziness for the last 9 years. What's kind of wild about this, as I sit and think about it, is Brady talked about how he's been himself personally at 9 Super Bowls and how this one was different, but he also talked about how many more years he was going to play. And this, to me, is one of the great storylines out there. Because for a long time, last several years, I've been thinking, oh, well, maybe this is the last time we're going to see Tom Brady in a big game. This is the first time in several years where I have thought, not only is Tom Brady going to be back, but I think he's going to be back for multiple years. And one of the big questions I have for Tom Brady is this: is he going to want to be a free agent again in another year? And I haven't heard hardly anybody talking about this. Dub, you can confirm that I'm 100% right on this. But he signed a 2-year deal with the Tampa Bay Bucs that I believe would allow him to be a free agent in theory again after next season. So when he signed that 2-year deal, I thought that will be it for Brady, because the way he finished in New England, last pass he ever attempted for the Patriots, intercepted, returned for a touchdown by the Titans, the way that season ended, I felt like Brady didn't have a lot of juice left in his, a lot of gas left in his tank. And this year, I now am thinking not only about this season, which has been a revelation and may end with a Super Bowl title, but I'm wondering, could Brady be setting up for another free agency? Because I think the Bucs were trying to protect him when they signed a 2-year, $50 million deal, if I'm remembering correctly. He's an unrestricted free agent after next season, which means in theory, if he didn't want to sign, now maybe he will want to sign an extension with the Bucs, maybe everything he loves about this organization, but if not, he could play for 2 more seasons. He's already finished one, play 1 more year, and then go back out into the marketplace and see if there's a better location for him than Tampa Bay. So not only could Brady now play past the age of 45, he could have a lot of different teams out there trying to sign him at the age of 45. In fact, and you guys tell me if you think I'm crazy about this, I think based on what he's done this year, Brady would have more suitors if he were a free agent right now than he did coming in and joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because I think he's looked younger and he has looked more productive and like more of a badass at the quarterback position this year than he did in the past several years in New England, such that even with his age, now I know, look, the reason why I liked the decision of Brady to go to Tampa Bay was I loved Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Obviously, you've added Antonio Brown, Cameron Brate. At the time, O.J. Howard, people have totally forgotten about O.J. Howard at tight end. And certainly Rob Gronkowski, the young offensive line they were putting around him. I liked the weapons, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, all of those things that are on the Bucs. This is, I believe, the most talented offense Tom Brady has ever been on in his career, without a shadow of a doubt. And I said that before the season started. I said, hey, it's going to be wildly more talented. Look, this was a team that was good enough for Jameis Winston to throw over 30 touchdowns. If Brady could come in and throw, I said at the time, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, I think the Bucs would have to be super happy with that. Instead, he went for 40-plus and around 12 in the regular season interceptions. That's obviously better than I think the Bucs could have hoped for. Certainly, I don't think under their fondest memories they would have thought they were going to go 14-5 and that Brady was going to win 3 playoff games for them. Maybe if they had won the division, they thought win a couple. But Brady's doing something and coming out of the wild card that he never did with New England. He's achieving a level of success that he never did in New England. But just think about what his performance this year has represented. He's been far better this year for the Bucs than he was the last several years in New England. Such that now the question is not about 45. It's about how many teams are going to be willing to try to sign Tom Brady at 45 years old. Think about how crazy that is. He's going to be 44 next year, and he's going to be an MVP candidate. And then after next year, unless the Bucs decide to lock him up, there's going to be a bunch of teams out there that are interested in signing Tom Brady to another 2-year deal to potentially play till he's 46 years old. And the storyline that is out there that is incredibly compelling, that I think is one of the craziest factoids surrounding this Super Bowl at all, is that right now they're asking Patrick Mahomes, who is 25 years old, about how long he thinks he's going to play. And Mahomes is like, well, you got to take care of your body. You got to be smart. Like, he's 25. Nobody who's 25 thinks about those things. Brady started thinking about them at a young age. Maybe that's why he's still able to play. Maybe it's some sort of crazy genetics. Maybe there's some sort of, and I think you have to toss it out there, maybe there's some sort of high-end athlete juice that the rest of us don't know exists, and that Roger Federer and LeBron James and other athletes of their ilk are taking, and we're just all oblivious to it. It's like a super secret conspiracy that they're all in on. I don't know the answer. I know that it defies all history of dominant performance by athletes to have guys like Federer and Brady and LeBron be able to plateau and be this good for this long. But Brady is on a different level, man, than everybody else. Because in the most brutal sport that exists in America, because hockey is brutal, but guys can play hockey into their 40s. It happens. It never happens that you are able to play as long as Tom Brady is able to play right now. And I know they're protecting quarterbacks more than they have in past years. But we're talking about Tom Brady being in the Super Bowl when the guy he's playing against, Patrick Mahomes, was in kindergarten. Kindergarten. I mean, that's a next level crazy factoid. And if you haven't seen those pictures of Brady in his uniform for the New England Patriots when he won his first Super Bowl, going up against the 5-year-old Patrick Mahomes in kindergarten, it's just crazy to even think about from that perspective. But that is where we are.